Welcome to Walking Tour of France, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a new adventure somewhere in France with every episode. Each week we'll travel to a different destination, from ancient ruins and stunning gardens to fascinating cities, historic landmarks, and hidden gems tucked away across this incredible country. If you're gearing up for your own trip, head over to northstartravelers.com, where you'll find gear recommendations to help you travel smarter, plus a full list of our other podcast shows covering destinations around the world. If you love discovering new places and planning your next adventure, follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leaving a positive review goes a long way in helping others find it. Now, let's explore France. You're standing at the edge of a town that has been seducing the wealthy, the famous, and the simply curious for more than a century and a half. The sea air carries a faint salt crispness, and ahead of you stretches a long, wide boulevard lined with half-timbered Norman villas. Their facades a patchwork of pale plaster and dark timber beams, their rooftops crowned with turrets and decorative flourishes. This is Deauville, and from the very first glance you understand why Parisians have been escaping here since the 1860s. So often called Paris's 21st arrondissement, it sits just about 2 hours from the capital by train, close enough to feel like a weekend extension of city life, yet perfectly distinct, quieter, saltier, and far more elegant. Before we begin walking, let me give you a sense of how this place came to be. In the mid-19th century, there was nothing here but flat marshland and dunes, a thin strip of unremarkable coast just across the river from the old fishing village of Trouville. Then came the vision of one man, the Duke of Morny, half-brother to Emperor Napoleon III and one of the most entrepreneurial aristocrats of his era. He looked across that unpromising stretch of land and saw a blank canvas. A racecourse, elegant villas, fashionable promenades. He would build a resort from nothing, and he would build it for the finest society in France. And so Deauville was born, literally planned and designed, its streets laid out with Parisian precision, its central square modeled on the Place de l'Étoile, with 8 avenues radiating outward like the spokes of a wheel. The racetrack came first, opened in 1864, even before the church was built, which the locals will proudly remind you of to this day. The villas followed, then the grand hotels, then the casino. By the early 20th century, Deauville had grown into something extraordinary, a place where European royalty, Impressionist painters, celebrated novelists, and fashion pioneers all converged each summer, drawn by the white sand, the races, and the intoxicating feeling that something wonderful might happen at any moment. Let's start walking. We'll begin here at the Place Morny, the central square at the heart of town. Take a moment to look around. This is that deliberate echo of Paris the Duke envisioned. 8 avenues fanning outward, a central garden with fountains, and the elegant facades of cafes spilling their chairs and umbrellas onto the pavement. On a warm day, this square hums with conversation and the clink of coffee cups. On a quieter morning, you can almost hear the 19th century in the clip of footsteps on stone. The town hall anchors one end of the square, built in 1881 and still carrying that dignified self-assurance of the Belle Epoque. But what you may notice first is the bell tower beside it, a set of 12 bells that chime throughout the day. It's a lovely quirk of this town that even the municipal clock has a theatrical quality. From here, we'll head toward the sea. The main shopping streets fan out ahead of you, lined with boutiques and patisseries, and a covered market hall built in the 1920s with a beautiful timber frame, well worth a detour if it's a market day. The architecture shifts as you walk, moving through styles that reflect each wave of Deauville's development. Norman half-timbering, Art Nouveau curves, Baroque flourishes. More than 550 of these buildings have been classified as historical monuments. So wherever you look, there is something worth pausing to study. Don't rush this part. Look up. As we continue, I want to tell you about someone who changed everything in this town. Not a duke or an emperor, but a young woman who arrived here in the early 1900s with an instinct for style that would reshape the world. Her name was Gabrielle Chanel, and yes, she came to Deauville. In 1913, she opened a boutique here alongside her then companion, the English polo player Arthur Capel. Not her first shop, but the one where she began to move from hats into clothing. She understood something the fashionable world had not quite grasped yet, that the women strolling this beach, breathing this sea air, watching the horses on the sand at dawn, did not want to be trussed into corsets and weighted down with elaborate fabrics. They wanted to move, they wanted to breathe. And here in Deauville, in this practical, breezy seaside town, she gave them something radically different. Comfortable, jersey-based designs that looked effortless and felt even better. This town was one of the crucibles in which modern fashion was forged. When the boardwalk was completed in 1923, she saw it as a runway and used it accordingly, sending models along its length in her latest designs to tempt customers. The image of those women, elegant and unencumbered, walking with the sea behind them, tells you something essential about what Deauville has always offered, the freedom to inhabit your best self. Ahead of you now, you can begin to see it, the wooden boardwalk itself, stretching along the full length of the beach. This is Les Planches, and it may be the most famous promenade in all of Normandy. Built in 1923 and inaugurated in 1924, it runs for more than 600 meters, made from planks of azobe, a dense, rot-resistant hardwood from West Africa, gray with age and salt, warm underfoot on a summer afternoon. Step onto it now. The view opens immediately. To your left, the beach spreads wide and pale, 2 kilometers of fine white sand, luminous even on overcast days. To your right, the famous beach cabins line the promenade in their Art Deco rows, painted in the cheerful colors of the Normandy coast, red and white, blue and white, yellow and green. And between those cabins, painted in careful black letters, are names, hundreds of names: Clint Eastwood, George Clooney, Nicole Kidman, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg. Since 1987, every film star who has come to inaugurate a cabin at Deauville's American Film Festival has their name painted here. Over 200 of them now, stretching along the promenade like a seaside version of Hollywood Boulevard, with considerably better air. The festival itself began in 1975, and every September since then, it has drawn the great and the glamorous of American cinema to this unlikely corner of Normandy. Liz Taylor came, Robert De Niro, Brad Pitt, and Angelina Jolie, Orson Welles. It is one of those wonderful Franco-American love affairs that France does so beautifully. A deep, genuine admiration for American storytelling, wrapped in the most French of settings. If you're here in September, the atmosphere is electric. But even if you're visiting in the quieter months, the names on the cabins give the boardwalk a particular magic. You find yourself reading them as you walk, drifting into memories of films, connecting stories to places the way a good promenade should slow you down and invite you to think. Keep walking north along the boardwalk in the early morning, and if you're up before most visitors, this is the time to be here. You may see racehorses training on the beach below. They emerge at dawn from the stables above town and are galloped along the water's edge, their breath clouding in the cool air, their hooves leaving long tracks in the wet sand. It is one of those unrepeatable Deauville moments, the kind of scene that makes you feel fortunate simply to be present. Down on the beach itself, when the season is right, the famous parasols bloom in their colors, 450 of them, each available to hire, arranged in their orderly rows, each bearing what is known as the Deauville knot on the canvas. The parasol tradition dates to 1875, and there is something wonderfully stubborn about it. In an era when beach design could be anything, Deauville has kept its parasols exactly as they have always been, colorful and formal and a little bit theatrical. The beach here rewards lingering. The tide does come in quickly in the morning, before 2 in the afternoon. Keep an eye on the water. But otherwise, this is as good a stretch of sand as you'll find anywhere on the Normandy coast. At the far end of the boardwalk, you'll find the Pompeian Baths, a remarkable building designed in 1923 by architect Charles Atta, who also designed Les Planches itself. Drawing on ancient Roman bathhouse complexes as his inspiration, Atta created a structure built around 9 courtyards with shower rooms, massage rooms, steam baths, swimming pools, even a hairdresser and an American bar. Its mosaics and Roaring Twenties aesthetic made it immediately famous. It remains a fascinating piece of architectural history and is worth walking around even from the outside. Now let's leave the beach and head inland, because there are more stories to find. From the boardwalk, make your way back toward the center of town and follow the avenue that leads uphill, away from the sea, in the direction of the racecourse. As you climb, the character of the neighborhood shifts. The villas become more grand, more secluded, their gardens deepening, their facades increasingly dramatic. This is the residential Deauville that the fashionable world built for itself in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and it rewards a slow walk. About halfway up, set back from the road behind its grounds, you'll find Villa Strasburger, and it stops you in your tracks. Built in 1907 for Baron Henri de Rothschild, it has the look of something between a Norman manor and a fairy tale castle. Half-timbered upper floors, checkered brickwork below, towers and decorative gables, and a sense of grand, effortless confidence. It was classified as a historic monument in 1975, and between June and September, you can book a guided tour of the interior, which is well worth doing if you're here in summer. The original furniture and paintings are still inside, giving you an extraordinary window into what the gilded life of Belle Epoque Deauville actually looked like from the inside. Continue up to the race course, the Hippodrome de Deauville-la-Touque, which sits above the town with views back down over the rooftops and the sea beyond. This is one of the great flat race courses of France, attracting international trainers and significant prizes every summer season. Even if you're not a racing enthusiast, the view from here is superb, and standing in this spot, looking down at the town the Duke of Morny built from nothing, you begin to understand the full ambition of what he created. When you're ready, make your way back down into town and toward the casino. You can't miss it. The Casino Barrière de Deauville stands just back from the beach, its white Belle Epoque facade glowing in the sunlight, its proportions extravagant, its confidence absolute. A casino has stood on this site since 1864, one of the earliest and most important decisions in Deauville's development. And the current building, dating to 1912, is among the finest examples of the style in Europe. Step inside. The entrance hall with its grand staircase, the crystal chandeliers hanging over the gaming rooms, the Salon des Ambassadeurs, where the American Film Festival hosts its gala dinners, the Italian-style theater. It's a place of deliberate splendor, and it works. You don't need to gamble to enjoy it. A drink at the bar while watching the evening clientele arrive is an entirely legitimate way to spend an hour in Deauville. The writer Françoise Sagan, one of France's great literary personalities of the 20th century, was famously devoted to the casino here. In August 1958, she sat down at the roulette table, bet everything on her favorite number, 8, and walked away with 8 million francs. It is the kind of story that could only happen in Deauville. Across from the casino, the grand hotels complete the picture: the Hotel Normandy with its half-timbered Norman exterior, and the Hotel Royal next door, its classically elegant lines facing the sea, both built in 1912, both still operating, both still the addresses of choice for anyone coming to Deauville in the full spirit of the thing. Even if you're not staying in them, it's worth stepping into the lobbies, ordering a coffee, and absorbing the atmosphere. The Belle Epoque dining room at the hotel, La Belle Epoque, is considered by many to be among the finest restaurants in town, its mirrors and chandeliers and wide banquettes offering a dining experience that feels genuinely Proustian. Reservations are recommended. Before we finish, make your way to Les Franciscains, a beautifully restored 19th century Franciscan convent near the center of town, now reimagined as one of France's most innovative cultural centers. Opened in 2021, it houses a museum dedicated to the painter André Hambourg, thematic galleries exploring Deauville's history, a media library, auditorium, and a children's zone. The architecture is striking, old stone walls opening onto contemporary interior spaces, and it's free to enter the main building, with exhibitions available for a small charge. It's a wonderful place to spend an hour if the weather turns, or if you simply want to understand this town more deeply. A final practical note: if you're planning when to come, summer is the obvious choice. The beach parasols are out, the races are running, the boardwalk is alive. But Deauville in the shoulder seasons, late April for the Easter Chamber Music Festival, or September for the Film Festival, offers something arguably even better: the atmosphere without the full summer crowds. And in winter, the town doesn't disappear. It goes quieter, more local, and the sunsets over the boardwalk are, by all accounts, extraordinary. Now let me point you toward a few places within easy walking distance that are worth adding to your time here. Just across the narrow River Touquet, a 10-minute walk from the boardwalk, lies Trouville-sur-Mer, Deauville's older, livelier, and slightly more affordable neighbor. An actual fishing village before Deauville existed, it has retained much of its 19th century character. Narrow lanes, colorful villas, and a working harbor. The fish market here is one of the best on the coast. Stalls piled with oysters, prawns, sea urchins, and gray shrimp, with high tables where you can eat fresh seafood platters with a glass of something cold right on the spot. A restaurant called Le Vapeur just near the waterfront, has been a Trouville institution for decades and is the kind of brasserie that does everything simply and gets everything right. It's an easy walk or a quick bike ride from Deauville and well worth the short trip. Back in Deauville itself, for fine dining, the restaurant of Michelin-starred chef Maximin Helio on Rue de Cire-le-Hoc is the address serious food lovers seek out. A small chic space with an open kitchen and menus built around the finest Norman produce. Reservations are essential. For something more relaxed, L'Étoile de Mer is a beloved seafood spot where you can watch the chef work with the fresh catch right in front of you. The oysters are exceptional. For a cocktail and a late evening, L'Équilibriste near the center has earned a devoted following for its creative, beautifully made drinks and convivial atmosphere. And for something in the grand hotel tradition, the restaurant at the Hotel Normandy, La Belle Epoque, is as much a destination as a meal. Its Belle Epoque dining room a genuine experience. For a longer excursion, the town of Honfleur lies about 30 minutes west along the coast, one of the most beautifully preserved harbor towns in France, long beloved by Impressionist painters, with a stunning old harbor, a famous wooden church, and restaurants that give even Deauville's serious competition. If you have a day, it's worth every minute. Now find a spot here on the boardwalk, a bench facing the sea, or simply a place to stand where the planks stretch away before you and the water fills the horizon. The sea here is the English Channel, though the French, more romantically, sometimes call it the Breton Sea. On a clear day, the sky above it is enormous, shifting in the way that Normandy skies do, from pale gray to silver to a sudden flooding gold. The waves are gentle. The parasols, if it's summer, move slightly in the breeze. Somewhere up in the hills behind you, horses are resting in their stables. Somewhere along this promenade, a century ago, a young woman with a genius for simplicity was remaking the way the world dressed. Deauville has always been a place where things happened. Not great historical events mostly, but something more personal. The decision to change direction, the beginning of a love affair, the moment of artistic inspiration, the afternoon that became a story worth telling. It is a town that has attracted people who were at their best when they were free to simply be themselves. And that is what it still offers, on this long wooden boardwalk with the sea ahead and France behind you. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Before you go, a few quick things. Subscribe so you never miss a destination, leave us a positive review to help others find the show, and share this episode with someone who loves exploring France. And if you're hungry for more adventures beyond France, visit northstartravelers.com to explore our other podcast shows and browse gear recommendations for wherever your next journey takes you. Your support means the world and keeps these adventures coming. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next walk.